Hi everyone, Ed here from Shades of Vengeance. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of a demo of Era Survival Colony, our latest card game. In this video I'm just going to explain what the various cards do and how they might affect your gameplay experience. So I'm going to begin by showing you the player cards, which include the Recruiter, the Salvager, the Defender, and the Leader. Now each of these has their own role within the colony, and you can actually play with up to 4 players, as there are these 4 different characters. You can also play with just one person, so anywhere between 1 and 4 will actually work with this game. The Recruiter is responsible for bringing new people into the colony and giving them initial assignments. The Salvager, if I can pick it up, is responsible for finding technology that's been left behind from before the Cataclysm, or even afterwards, and bringing it to the colony for their use. The Defender, I'm sure I don't really need to explain very much, is responsible for leading the soldiers and the forces who are going to defend the colony from attack from the outside. And finally, the Leader is responsible for the food, for dealing with the crisis cards, and also for reassigning the person cards at the end of a turn. Now each of these does actually say on the bottom of the card what it is that they do, but I'm also going to go through that in another video. The other 2 really important cards are the Turn card, which helps you track what turn number you're on, and as you reach the 8th turn you will approach victory as long as you are uninfected, as it says here. The other important card is the Infected card. It begins uninfected, but if you become infected for any reason, you have 3 turns until your entire colony is infected and you automatically lose. So these 6 cards are sort of the central cards which won't change at all during the gameplay. But they each draw on a deck of various kinds, and I will show you those decks now. So first of all, for the Recruiter, we have the Person deck. That looks like this. And each person has various icons in the top corner. And I've actually turned over a bad set here. There we are. That should be most of the combinations. So you'll notice 2 icons in the top corner of this card. One of which is the Trap icon, and the other of which is a Hunter icon. Now these can be affected by various different things. The traps could be unable to attack certain kinds of enemies, and certain people, when they're assigned to defense, such as this one, can actually give a boost to all people who are trappers. So you can see whenever a trapper is assigned to defense, that one will boost the defense of all trappers. So that can be a big bonus. Equally, you've seen the Hunter. There's also a Farmer card. So each one falls into either a Hunter or a Farmer, and each one falls into melee or trapper or ranged. Now, the ranged icon looks like this, in the top corner here, and the melee icon looks like this. Now, what happens is, whenever a card is assigned to a certain thing, they will use their icon in order to do whatever it is they're doing. So these are primarily for the Leader and for the Defender. There are individual cards with bonuses to other things. For example, here is one which has a bonus to salvaging. You draw an extra card when this one is assigned to salvage, which is a very powerful ability actually. Each one has various different abilities. There are ones in here with a bonus to recruiting. There are ones in here which give all melee a bonus, just like the Trapper one that I showed you a minute ago. And there are even ones which give you bonus food when they're assigned to food. So food is very important for the colony, obviously, otherwise you're going to end up in some troubles. So what will happen is, at the start of the game, the Recruiter will draw 4 person cards. They'll obviously be shuffled, and 4 will be drawn at random. And then each turn they will draw a number of person cards equal to the number of individuals in recruiting, plus any bonuses. They're able to then assign them to any of the 4 areas, which of course are to the recruiter to recruit more cards, to the salvager to salvage more equipment, to the defender to help with the defense of the colony, and to the leader, which means that they are farming. Next I'm going to talk about the salvage cards. So the salvage cards are equipment and various other similar things which can give you bonuses during gameplay. So we've got here a common foe. This will actually draw 2 extra person cards for the combat in that turn, the defense in that turn. And if they're not killed, they're then returned to the person deck. So 2 people just randomly turn up to help out. Gas masks. So this one's an interrupt card. It says on it very clearly interrupt, which means you can play at any time. There you go. And what you do is you play it at the same time as your colony becomes infected, and it will avoid the infection. You'll see here the Vault, which gives you bonus food and also bonus equipment. There's Armor, which allows the first person to die to actually avoid that, so they are immune to dying, just once. There are even mines, which can be laid by a single individual if they're on defense, and will actually destroy all incoming monsters. Probably the single most important salvage card is this one here, the Injection Crate. So what it does is if you are infected using this card, it will instantly return you to uninfected, because you are able to remove the infection that was ravaging your colony. Some of them allow you to avoid crises, which will come up later. Some of them allow you to reduce the power of enemies, and so on. So the Salvager is able to play a number of these cards each turn. They're able to draw the number that they have in people, and they're able to hold that same number. But they're able to play as many as they like, and most of them have to be played during the Salvager's turn. So they have to think about what's coming next. So that's the Salvager. I'm going to move on to the enemy deck now, which is actually the thickest deck out of all of them. And the enemy deck obviously contains all of the things that may attack your colony. These fall into 2 main categories. They are either infected. Or they are humans. So this is a human. You can tell because it doesn't say infected, whereas an infected card actually says so. If an infected card gets through, then infection will become rampant in your colony as well. Infection is a serious danger in this. You will also find that some cards have a bonus ability as well, just to make things a little bit more difficult. This one here actually has the ability to destroy 1 random person assigned to defense after the defense phase is over, because it breathes fire, so it'll actually kill them. And this one here, if it's attacked by melee, you're able to nominate which character attacks each monster, and if it's attacked by melee, then it will carry off that defender, and it cannot even be hurt by a trapper. That's one of the limitations I mentioned earlier. So there are a large number of enemies. Some of the crises will bring more to attack you, and as I said, some of the salvage cards can mitigate the difficulties that you face. So those are the enemy cards, and they are dealt with by the defender. Next, I've got the leader, and the leader's cards actually fall into 2 categories. So they're all crisis cards, which are negative. First of all, there are the failure crisis cards. Now these ones do bad things to you when you fail. So if you fail to feed all of your people, or if you fail to defeat one of the enemies, you will find a crisis card. These do various unpleasant things, including not allowing the Salvager to even play this turn. There may be +2 attack against the colony next turn. +2 enemies for the attack next turn, so you draw 2 more enemy cards, and so on. So all of these only happen if you actually fail. If you fail to defeat the enemies, or if you fail to feed your entire colony, you will get a failure crisis. And finally, we have the yearly crisis. Now, the yearly crisis happens every year, no matter what you do. Unless, of course, you get the no crisis card. You might have a smooth year and everything's fine. Unfortunately, there are only 2 of those, so you might instead have an infected farmer or hunter. So what it'll do is randomly choose a hunter or farmer to be infected, and then infection will spread as normal. You've also got the drought card, which can actually give you -3 food for next turn. So almost all of these, you will have noticed, affect the next turn. Now the reason for that is the leader's turn comes at the end of the turn, so all of the crises actually affect you the following turn. Now that's all of the cards. There are the rules, of course, in the box as well. They're quite detailed. They cover everything that you need to know to set up. They cover everything that I've just mentioned in this video on this page here. And there's even a setting up guide and then a play table demonstration as well, along with the 3-page turn summary and how it works. The object of the game is very simple. All you have to do is get this card to turn 8 without being infected, and then you win. Thank you very much for watching, and please of course let me know if you have any questions, and I hope the game's looking exciting so far.